Hey guys, this is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. Stardate, it's very early in the morning. It's like 6 a.m. Central Time, where I am. I ended up staying up like 30 hours or something like that, and then sleeping for 14 to 15 hours. I was all excited that I thought I was getting back to a regular sleeping pattern of like 6 to 8 hours because I got rid of my Faraday bunker, but that only lasted for like a week and a half, and then my attackers went back to keeping me asleep for long periods of time and doing all kinds of stuff to me while I'm sleeping. That's where they get the most work done with neuro linguistic programming, and then I have a couple of different layers of V2K. And also, what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to try and just get to it. I don't know how short this video is going to be, but I'm going to try and keep it short. I just want to get through the information. A lot of targeted individuals talk about a bidirectional stream of photons being used. Brian too says it. A lot of other TIs that I've talked to have said that they see like a blue light or something like that. And I always like this past year, I've come to the understanding that yes, that is one of the layers of the onion of our targeting is this bidirectional stream of photons. I wasn't really sure if it's just photons or if it's electromagnetic frequencies mixed with light. I'm still kind of questioning that. But when Brian 2 says a bidirectional stream of photons, active and adaptable, I mean, he's right on the money. And so I want to show y'all something called opto. A lot of you guys may already know about this, but it's very important for us to know as targeted individuals. For me, it's like I've been peeling back the layers of the onions, the gang stalking, then you've got external hits to the body, then you've got remote neural manipulation with entrainment, which would be, the basically not functioning MRIs, but fields of electromagnetic frequency around the head that stimulate the vestibular system and the cranial nerves. And then I didn't add in something to that part that I want to add in is if you have bigger implants, like I think I have an implant in my shoulder, they can send signals to these implants to either mess with the area around the implant, or the implant will probably be on a cluster of nerves, especially if you have a body area network. It will be on a cluster of nerves that can send a signal up to the vestibular system, strengthening the entrainment that those electromagnetic fields are creating. Now, the what I think is the last layer of the onion, or it definitely is a layer of the onion, is with these functional electromagnetic fields. Then there's a bidirectional stream of photons or light that can do deep brain stimulation. So I'm going to name the title of this video will probably be, bidirectional stream of photons, in parentheses light, that facilitate deep brain stimulation. And I'm kind of y'all know my philosophy. The more that we know about this stuff in detail, the better that we'll be able to defend ourselves. Sometimes I feel like I'm going into some pretty complicated territory, and a lot of target individuals will probably be like, you're just making this too complicated. We're just being hit with directed energy. But I kind of understand that statement. We got to keep it kind of simple because this stuff gets so complicated. But also, I do want to get into some of the detail and some of the scientific articles on optogenetics because they're using it on us. They're using optogenetics on us, and there's scientific articles of them doing it to rats and actually putting nanoparticulates that pass the blood-brain barrier, and then with optogenetics with basically streams of photon or streams of light activating these catalysts, these nanoparticulates that have passed the blood-brain barrier to manipulate, to suppress, to suppress or to interfere with deep brain stimulation, like your language center or your visual cortex or your hypothalamus, and that's something that like lately I've been doing pretty good with the direct transcranial stimulation, Dave Case's CD, you know, the headgear, stuff like that. Grounding has helped with the external hits a lot. Um, but this is one thing. This is one thing that there is a way to defend from optogenetics from this bidirectional stream of photons also. But I want to let me read. I'm getting ahead of myself as always. As always, I get ahead of myself. So I want to read this article from Scientific American. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read the important part that I want to show you guys. So it's from Scientific American. Will neuroweapons, microdrones, and other killer apps really make us safer? Now, as targeted individuals, we know, and this is from 2017. It's by John Horgan, April 7th, 2017. We know that no, it does not make us safer. They're experimenting on people all over the globe with neuro weapons and probably all these other killer apps. You know, they're messing with people and using them on people. So it hasn't made us safer. It has not made us safer as a world. It has not made your community safer. It has not made your city safer. It's made it way more dangerous, and that's the purpose. They're trying to false flag and create chaos in society to gain more control, to get more money to these programs, to target more people. Um, so Americans should have a more vigorous debate over Pentagon's relentless pursuit of disruptive innovations. I completely agree with that. There needs to be a more vigorous debate. People need to start talking about that. They need to start talking about non-consensual human experimentation. They need to start talking about trauma-based behavioral control from a distance, or basically MK Ultra from a distance. You know, using electromagnetic frequencies, using toxins, using poisons, using bidirectional stream of photons those active electromagnetic frequency fields facilitate. I want to go back to the MIT article a little bit later because the setup they have there can tell us a lot about what's going on with us. What these integrated weapons platforms, these neuro weapons platforms, what exactly they're doing. The MIT article says things about like what they're releasing to the public about medical applications, but they're not using in the example that I'm thinking of. You know, they're using functioning MRIs with focused ultrasound. The functioning MRIs facilitate them being able to target that ultrasound in specific parts to specific neurons in the brain and neural clusters in the brain. So that electromagnetic or that functioning MRI helps them to get a better to target it better, to target specific areas of the brain with that deeper layer of the onion. And in our case, it would be functioning electromagnetic fields around the head to give them a better picture of the brain and what they're targeting with that bidirectional stream of photons or photonic energy, directed energy, which is light, basically, is light. Let me start reading this a little bit. I'm definitely not going to read the whole thing. It's way long. The late psychedelic philosopher Terence McKenna was one of my favorite thinkers. Epic doses of DMT and psilocybin helped him figure out the meaning of existence. The world was designed to produce innovation for our delectation. I have no idea what that means. Maybe innovation is a divine creative principle. Who knows? But Andy Russell and Lee Vinsel are right. Innovation worship has gotten out of hand. I agree with that. I think that people need to focus on becoming more spiritually evolved and more grown up. More grown up, not just in age, but as humans, we need to be more grown up because we've got some serious technologies at hand, and they're being used to murder families, to rape the minds of little children, to break apart families, to torture people 24 hours a day for their whole lives. That means that we're not more spiritually evolved. But the focus of society and the focus of this pyramidal structure is to just advance these technologies because there's so much money in them right now. They're such a gold mine. It's so much control. So they're not even thinking, oh, look at all the bad stuff that's happening. Look at all the bad stuff we're doing. They're doing that on purpose They're greedy about the power and the knowledge and the advancement of these technologies. They're not thinking about what it's going to do to humanity as a whole. Maybe some people at the top of the pyramid, they are thinking, they want a lot of us gone, and that's what it'll do. It'll make things more chaotic. It'll make people act more crazy out in society, and it'll create a lot more danger. It's already doing that. Our obsession with novelty fuels the replication crisis in science and the high cost of healthcare, among other problems. Today I'll focus on an especially insidious kind of innovation involving war. I used to live across the Hudson River from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. It has a museum that documents proudly our increasingly ingenious methods of killing each other. Yeah, and I think that's one of humankind's best innovations. We kill each other very, very creatively. It's nothing to be proud of at all, and it's nothing to be proud of at all. We should be going the other way. A lot of people in the human race are going the right way, but they don't have a lot of power to do so. The people with the power, the technology, the money, and they filtered it down in this pyramidal system, compartmentalized system, they're going the wrong way, and they're bringing us all the wrong way, at a detriment to themselves and everybody that lives on the world. They range from the spears and crossbows up through machine guns, tanks, and Fat Man, the bomb that devastated Nagasaki. Seeking killer apps, the U.S. is by far the world's dominant arms producer, peddler, and innovator, and it's always trying to extend its lead. The Pentagon has been reaching out to high-tech companies in Silicon Valley and elsewhere for help in creating disruptive weaponry. Weapons of mass disruption. You remember who said that? James G. Adorno said we're looking at weapons of mass disruption, not weapons of mass destruction, because the new age, this new evil world, the people at the top of the pyramid and then the military industrial complexes and international contractors, they want something that can disrupt and neutralize people, but keep structure intact. Like, they don't want to be hitting people with nuclear bombs anymore because they want that area, they want that land. So they want to be able to take out people, disrupt their brain, neutralize them, get them out of there, and so they can maintain structures, right? So the so-called Defense and Innovation Unit Experimental, DIUX, has opened offices in Palo Alto, Boston, and Austin to solicit proposals from companies and universities. Here's how it describes its mission. DIU-X continuously iterates how best to identify and contract novel innovation, with the ultimate goal of accelerating this technology into the hands of men and women in uniform. The Defense Department isn't content with slaughtering the English language. Here are a few killer apps I find especially worrisome. So I'm not going to go through microdrone assassins. I want to go down to brain science and bionic soldiers. I specifically want to get to the part where, okay, here we go. This is the part I'm going to read, but I will be putting this article, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be putting this article and the other article that I'm going to read. I'm going to be putting those in the description box. So you guys, and I'm going to be making a better effort at this. What I was thinking before when I was making videos is I was like, oh, well, the link is at the top when I'm going through these articles so people can just get it from there. But nobody's going to write all that stuff down. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the links, every article that I talk about, make a very, very concentrated effort to do that so y'all can have this information at hand, make a file, save it on your computer, save it in your likes, save it in your, save it in your, what's it called? My brain is struggling, guys. My brain is really struggling. Save it in your likes, save it in your favorites, so that you can have a list of these articles and just concrete evidence. Second example, brain science. In his book Mind Wars, bioethicist Jonathan Moreno of the University of Pennsylvania documents the military's long-standing interest in neuroweapons. Decades ago, the U.S. explored the potential of psychedelics like LSD and BZ for interrogating, brainwashing, and disabling enemies. The Pentagon is more eager than ever to exploit brain science. And I agree, and we see it down to the level of community levels in all of our countries, that they're experimenting on people, running gang stalking parallel to it for discrediting and more trauma, and then they're using brain science as brain science has been weaponized. It's been weaponized, and they're trying to learn more about what they can get people to do, how they can push their belief systems, how they can make them look crazy and neutralize them in their communities. That's a big factor. That's a big thing that they want to learn. How do we take this guy who's like, how do we take and I'm thinking not really about my situation, but just in general, like, how do we take this good and influential guy who could maybe be a leader in his community, but he's going to speak out against tyranny, and he's not going to go along with things at the top of the pyramid, eugenics and things like that. And my brain is really doing bad, so I can't think of a lot of examples, but y'all know what I'm talking about. How do we neutralize him? How do we make everybody around him think he's crazy so they don't listen to him? So that they don't listen to him and they go along with the tyrannical activity. They go along with the new Nazi Germany stuff. And it's worse. Not like 1984 on crack and steroids and PCP. We are in that book 1984, but it's like on crack, angel dust, heroin, not heroin, crack, angel dust, PCP, and acid, and just whatever would mess, just make it a lot worse, make it just a seething, frothing mess with a lot of energy to murder people and hurt their lives and surveil people. So let's read. The Pentagon is more eager than ever to exploit brain science, according to Moreno. In 2011, the DoD spent more than $350 million. Now watch what he says. The DoD spent more than $350 million on cognitive neuroscience, and that doesn't count black budget spending. Not only does the $350 million, so that's like the DoD, that's money from Congress, the $350 million. That's money directly from Congress. Black budget spending is also in there. Private investments also in there. And many other things that I'm probably leaving out. But they get money from way more than just Congress, than just our taxes. They get private investors in this technology, which that WikiLeaks article on non-lethal weapons technologies, they send out, just the information that they want to get across to somebody who will invest money in this, to get private investors. They've got international private contractors who have tons of money, investing money in this, manufacturing, and then they've got, what's going on with the Federal Reserve. If the people up at the top of the pyramid want this technology to be successful and want to gather all that data of all this targeting and all this experimentation, then they can just print money. They can print money to do whatever they want, So it's a lot more than $350 million just from Congress. There's the black budget's probably, in the billions, maybe trillions that they've spent on this. It's worldwide. Like these neuro weapons being experimented on, like people being non-consensually experimented on by neuro weapons, directed energy weapons, certain microbiologicals, chemicals, and stuff like that. It's going into at least the trillions, and then we're looking at like tens of trillions of dollars. The Defense Department has provided roughly half the funding for Obama's federal brain initiative. Let's read that again. The Defense Department has provided roughly half the funding for Obama's federal brain initiative. The initiative supports research on the brain's software or neural code and on technologies like optogenetics, an implantable method for manipulating neurons. So remember that word, optogenetics. A lot of you guys have probably already heard this. You've already heard the word and you've looked into this. I've kept it on the back burner for a long time, just not being sure, because I'm just not sure if the bidirectional stream of energy that's going to do deep brain stimulation is just photons. I'm not sure, because what they've done with directed energy, they've mixed so many frequencies. But I'm coming to the conclusion, so it's kind of up in the air to me. So let's just go in the right direction and learn about optogenetics. I really do at this time, like right now if you ask me. I may change my opinion with further analysis, with further data and stuff like that, but my hypothesis is now that all the deep brain stimulation for us, the remote neural manipulation of our visual cortex, our our language center, how they see through our eyes. They're basically going to the occipital lobe, and they're getting what our eyes are bringing into that area of the brain. I do think that it's done with optogenetics. I do think it's a bidirectional stream of photons or light. Now they also have those. They also have electromagnetic frequency fields around the head to facilitate, so they can get a better picture of where they're targeting in the brain, the exact neurons that they want to target, right? So if scientists crack the neural code, all sorts of sci-fi scenarios become possible. Well, we live a sci-fi. I live a sci-fi scenario. My life is, I was watching this the Green Arrow one time, and it was like a crossover between him and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow or whatever. And they were trying to go through all their problems, and he was like, okay, one sci-fi problem at a time. And that, I was like, whoa, oh man, my whole life is like a sci-fi problem. Like everything about this targeting seems sci-fi because the public is not, the public hasn't gotten to that level of understanding that this is happening yet, so it seems sci-fi. But we all know that things that can seem very sci-fi can seem very secondhand, in the near future. That's another one of my fears, is that this is a normalization. They're trying to normalize torturing people 24 hours a day. Look how they've normalized it. Nobody's really doing anything. I mean, people are fighting it. People are figuring out, but they can't really bring the program down, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do that. It will eventually happen, but it's like, man, we have so many good people in society. It's normalized. People are being tortured, and nobody can do anything about it, right? And we are doing something about it, but you know what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying. So it's a type of normalization, and they do want to normalize, mind reading. They want to normalize that. They even it's weird in a weird way. And I think maybe some of the other targeted individuals are maybe grappling with this and struggling with this. I've kind of had to normalize it to survive. Like the way that we should be all the time, because we're being microwaved to death. Our brains being reached into, with all these different mechanisms, with these integrated weapons platform, V2K all day long. I should be running in the streets screaming, save me, save me. I mean, we don't do that because we can't get help that way. I think that and not to get confused with optogenetics, I think that we need to think about, as target individuals, we need to think about the optics of the situation. If you feel like the optics of the situation are going to make you look like a crazy person, like you're the bad person and people aren't going to understand, then I would deal with that situation in a different way, right? But in reality, we should all be screaming bloody murder. We are being murdered. We're being experimented on. This should be a huge deal. Everybody should be up in arms in every community. But it's kind of just like, oh, well, we don't even know that that's happening. Or the people that know that it's happening are like, well, we can't do anything about it. Really powerful people are doing it. So in a lot of ways, it normalizes it. It normalizes this, which is the worst thing. People being tortured 24 hours a day. If we're normalizing that in the world, we've got big problems. And obviously we've got big problems. We got big problems in the United States of America, and other countries have big problems because power does not care about us, and it's using our communities as petri dishes. So if scientists crack the neural code, all sorts of sci-fi scenarios become possible, including technologies for mind reading, mind control, and mind enhancement. Or what are they leaving out there? Because in all these articles, they leave it out. They show when it's dual use, they show the best use. Mind enhancement. They want to, it can enhance people. It can make super soldiers. It can make people's reflexes better. What do they leave out, though? They leave out mind degradation. Like hurting somebody's mind. Making their thinking not as good. Like damaging the brain. Neutralizing a human being, making people think that human being is crazy. Now, there is the potential for mind enhancement and making somebody a lot better. But what are they really practicing? What's coming out in society that they're really practicing? It's destroying human beings. Zerzetzung, destroying people's minds, seeing how they can manipulate the mind. Um, so, as a U.S. Army publication put it recently, advances in brain science could lead to improvements in performance and decision making, changing the way soldiers fight in the near future. Let's see if he goes into it. Okay, so he just stays on the positive side there. Let's see if he gets into it further down. Okay, no, he doesn't. He kind of stays on the positive side. Now, what I want to do, the initiative supports research on the brain's software or neural code and on technologies like optogenetics, an implantable method for manipulating neurons. Now I want to go to this article, guys. Now this is from Science, an online journal, and this article is by a bunch of different scientists. It gets hard to understand because it's in a very scientific vernacular. But I think we can all look at this and say and kind of understand this is optogenetics, and then what targeted individuals have been saying for a long time, where there's a bidirectional stream of photons that are actually using nanoparticulates, nanotechnology, smart dust that passes the blood-brain barrier. They're using that to manipulate neurons, to do deep brain stimulation. And I remember, I wanted to tell you all this kind of funny story. Well, it's not funny. It's not a funny story. It's not even cute. It's the guy who made me start making videos. The guy who I saw was called William the Bastard. I think he has a channel called William the Bastard, and then he has a channel called William the Bastard Television or something like that. And he made these long videos, and I always thought that he had been targeted so badly that that he didn't really see things the right way. You know, that he was kind of going off into left field. A lot of you guys, a lot of targets who are maybe in this past year figured out you may look at me that way. You may be like, wow, you're trying to make things way too complicated. But you know, we got to back up things with evidence and go where the evidence leads us. And we need to know some of the details. We need to know all the details eventually, but we need to figure out as many details as we can concretely, because that I've experienced this. That the more that you know, the better defenses you can find, things that really work, things that give you some relief. Which just saying this because I can't like hold it in. Brian, too, please use Dave Case's CD for at least a week. You're getting so tortured so badly. Use some grounding or something. And that goes for everybody. Everybody who's not using any defenses and you're just getting totally mauled by this stuff, please try some grounding. Ground on the left leg. Or use, Dave Case's CD is free. So use that, or try and get some stuff from Less EMF. I think there's some cheaper stuff, but try some things, because there's a thin red line between feeling like you're gonna die and then getting enough defense going where it's like, wow, this sucks, and I've got to stop this. I can't live this way, but not feeling like you're gonna die tomorrow. There's a very thin red line of getting the right defenses so that you can feel that way. Okay, but anyway, so going back to the story, so I used to watch William the Bastard, and he's the reason I started making long videos, because when I watched his videos, I'd feel like, oh, I'm not so alone, But he made a video, and I might show it but I don't want to make this too long. But he was talking about light being used to affect neural nodes in parts of the brain. I said, oh man, he's way off. But this was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, I don't know. And I was like, he's way off. They're using electromagnetic frequencies. Why would he even talk about that? But he was right. He was right. He was right. And I've learned that along the way. But it's just interesting, and we all need to be aware of that. as targeted individuals, we're all in different parts of this trying to figure it out. You may have just started getting targeted, or you may have been targeted for 3 years, or like me, I know that I've been targeted for at least 8 years. So we're all in these kind of different periods of our torture. That's why we need to really back things up with concrete data. We need to back things up with concrete data because there's a lot of targeted individuals saying a lot of things. I said a lot of things at the beginning of my targeting which were not right. I was trying to figure it out, but I didn't have a lot of concrete stuff, so I was going off of what I felt was happening. So I think that's why we need to start going to. But it's just a little funny story. Like, I mean, not a funny story because he actually got put in jail. His ex-wife like set him up, and I think he's still in jail. Yeah, so it's not that funny because he was targeted very severely, and who knows what they're doing to him, because once he got put in jail, I'm sure the torture got even worse. But I'm just saying. So back then I was like, oh man, that doesn't sound right. Light? What? Light can't do that. But it's really true. A bidirectional stream of photons mixed with when it has nanoparticulates or nanotechnology, or basically what's called smart dust, bypassing the blood-brain barrier, then that light is targeted to certain areas of the brain and interacts with that smart dust to actually affect neurons and how they function, how they act, manipulating certain areas of the brain, getting information from certain areas of the brain. But we can't. It's not just that. There's layers of the onion, right? This is an integrated weapons platform. So layers of the onion. It's working in conjunction with these electromagnetic fields that can get a better readout of where exactly they're targeting that bidirectional stream of photons or light. And I'm still like, right now I'm making a hypothesis that yeah, that bidirectional stream is probably fully made out of photonic energy, but a little part of me is like, well, it could be mixed in with electromagnetic, like some electromagnetic frequencies in it. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out. I mean, we're gonna have to get more concrete data. But I do. Let me go ahead and read this. So near infrared deep brain stimulation via upconversion nanoparticle mediated optogenetics. So that's what this is saying. They've done experiments, and obviously the people doing this to us are not going to put out the information, hey, we're doing nanoparticle mediated optogenetics on people with their targeting. They're not going to say that. But this was experimentation done on rats, where they specifically used nanoparticulates, like nanotechnology, and introduced them into the rat system, and then used certain wavelengths of light, near infrared photons, to manipulate certain parts of their neural structure, their brain structures. So we definitely got to keep this in mind. And Brian too's been saying it for a long time. I've been kind of focused on the external hits and the entrainment and stuff like that, these other layers of the onion, but it's like I've done a good job defending against them, and then my attackers seem to be doing something that's not entrainment, and I've been, we roll these things over in our head all the time, okay, what really is this and stuff like that, and we've still got a lot to figure out. But definitely it's like when my attackers, when I feel like I'm not getting entrained, I feel like the external hits, I'm still getting tortured, but my attackers can do something where it's like deep inside the brain, maybe the hypothalamus, where it's like a deep feeling of fight or flight. It's very deep. It's not an entrainment thing. It's not a surface emotion. It's not a surface emotion like anxiety. It's something deep inside of my brain that they're stimulating with this deep brain stimulation. So it's made me go more and more towards like, okay, what is that? Because it seems like my defenses aren't really affecting that. Which there are a lot of ideas. There's a lot of ideas, and we're going to have to do some thinking, some stinking thinking. But there are a lot of ideas of how to interrupt this bidirectional stream of photonic energy. With black light, with black lights, maybe, you know, getting it on tape with getting more of this on using a certain type of filter. We could get this bidirectional stream on film, or I mean on camera. There's some ideas. I don't want to say strobe light. A lot of targeted individuals talk about using a strobe light, and I think it would interrupt. The stream of directed energy, the bidirectional stream of directed energy. But I think that might be dangerous. All the stuff that's happening to our brain and our nervous system, I think playing a strobe light in your face is not a good idea. But there are some ideas, and we can interrupt. We can just think of a lot more things to interrupt that flow of directed energy that's doing deep brain stimulation to us. Layers of the onion, right? So you've got deep brain stimulation being done with a bidirectional stream of directed energy, photonic energy. Then on the outside, you've got functioning electromagnetic fields being kind of used as MRIs, but also entrainment too. The high-pitched sound and stuff comes from that because your brain's being affected by that non-ionizing microwave radiation. Then you've got external, well, then you've got maybe bigger implants. And I don't know if all targeted individuals have implants. I suspect that I have some. I need more concrete tests, and I need doctors who won't lie about it. But then there's that layer, because you've got the implants that can actually, you know, put a microwave signal or electromagnetic signal around where it is. Like say it's around your lungs, can put, you know, actually deliver a microwave jolt or anything like that. Or if it's around a cluster of nerves, a signal can be sent up the cluster of nerves to your vestibular system to actually strengthen what they're doing with entrainment, right? And then so you got, and some people have body area networks. I don't think that I have a body area network, but with these nanoparticulates and stuff, you know, they kind of cluster up the nanoparticulates, the smart dust, and they create something that's akin to like a chip that might have been injected anyway. And then so then you got that, then you got external hits that hit my electronics and hit me. Then you've got, along with external hits, I don't want to forget about, and I'm probably missing stuff because so many protocols are used, right? So there's a lot of microbiologicals, toxins used, and that would go along with, you know, smart dust being put into us and stuff like that. But also some targeted individuals, there's a protocol of heavy poisoning and putting toxins in their environment. Thank God, I mean, you know, I'm going through the shit with, you know, directed energy and deep brain stimulation, all that. But, you know, I want to talk about that more, even though I don't experience that a lot. I seem to have kind of gotten to a safety place because I have cameras everywhere, like around my condo. So it seems like people can't break in and use microbiologicals on stuff like that. But there are some target individuals where it's like hell, and they are getting toxins on them all the time. I think on a certain level, all targeted individuals get a certain level of toxins, nanoparticulates, maybe certain types of neurotoxins put in their environment. But some people, it's like a very central part of their protocol. You know, these microbiological agents, biofilm on the skin and stuff like that. And then gang stalking. So then you have gang stalking, which traumatizes us, isolates us. Just, you know, fear. It's fear programming. You know, fear. They're trying to put fear into us. You know, trauma, fear, and then it also discredits us. Also makes money for DHS fusion centers, and gives them more power to surveil more people. You know, so you know, looking at, and there's more layers to the onion, but that's just gonna, you see how layers of the onion in this. We got to peel this onion back, and this, I think this is maybe the deepest layer. I think this is maybe the deepest layer. Bidirectional stream of directed energy that's actually doing deep brain stimulation to us, in conjunction with all these other things. So stimulating deep inside the brain. Let me read just because I talked for a long time. Near-infrared deep brain stimulation via upconversion nanoparticle-mediated optogenetics. Stimulating deep inside the brain. Non-invasive deep brain stimulation is an important goal in neuroscience and neuroengineering. And we know that the Pentagon is very interested, and they've been the Pentagon, the DoD, the DIA, the CIA, DARPA. That's kind of the top. That's the top in the United States. Now every other country has their little top of the pyramid, but then there's a top of the pyramid above those things. But that's basically the top of the military-industrial complex. And not really, because the top of the pyramid is kind of involved, would be the military-industrial complex. But anyway, it's like, so the Pentagon, the DoD, right, the CIA, DIA, DARPA, all those people are very interested in neuroscience as a weapon, right? And that's the people that I am accusing. I am straight up accusing. Some other targeted individuals aren't so sure, but my research and everything in my hypothesis, not my hypothesis, this is how it works, is that contractors and subcontractors hooked up with universities and hospitals are manufacturing and carrying out the experimentation on citizens in my country, and I think that there's a similar setup in every other country where this is happening, right? So neuroengineering, right? They're trying to learn more about the DNA of a person, how it's connected to structures and functions of the brain. They're trying to figure out how can they extremize people's beliefs. How can they make people do things that are crazy? How can they isolate people? How can they turn families against each other? How can they neutralize people, right? And many, many other things, many other protocols of experimentation, neuroengineering. And neuroengineering, like how could you change something in the brain? There's a good side to that. Like if somebody has a certain kind of disease, a brain disease, could they, focus? Could they target certain neurological structures and fix those things? Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's. Yeah, that exists, but they're creating so much Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and cancer with this experimentation, with flooding every country with non-ionizing microwave radiation. They're causing way more harm than any kind of good achievements that medically. Little medical achievements, consumer achievements are being trickled out, but at the expense of millions and millions of people being tortured for their whole lives. There's no justification there on the good things that they could do. So, okay, optogenetics normally requires the use of a blue laser inserted into the brain. Chin et al. Use specialized nanoparticles that can upconvert near-infrared light from outside the brain into the local emission of blue light. So it can upconvert near-infrared light from outside the brain into the local emission of blue light. They injected these nanoparticles into the ventral tegmental area of the mouse brain and activated channel rhodopsin expressed in dopaminergic neurons with near-infrared light generated outside the skull at a distance of several millimeters. This technique allowed distant near-infrared light to evoke fast increases in dopamine release. The method was also used successfully to evoke fear memories. In the dentate gyrus during fear conditioning. So they're trying to fear condition rats. Now, what do they try and do with us? They try and fear condition us. They try and traumatize us so that the brain is easier, so that clearing neural pathways so that it's easier to manipulate the brain, to inject false memories, to inject false emotions, to actually do deep brain stimulation on the hypothalamus and your endocrine system. I don't know if the hypothalamus, I need to research the brain more. I kind of hate researching the brain because then it makes me think more about what my attackers are doing all the time. And I think sometimes we have to just ignore it. We do have to ignore what they're doing and do things in our life and then fight the big fight of getting this out. But neutralizing it for us may mean completely ignoring it and getting a discipline of it. And I'm not talking about gang stalking right now. I'm talking about like remote neural manipulation, when they're doing this hyper game theory where they're like somebody will gang stalk you and then they'll inject an emotion of anger or something. The best thing that I found to do over time, because they stopped using a lot of those things, not stopped using them completely, but they pulled back. They're not working. Like I ignore them, I let the emotion flow through me, then I try and get on with my life as the best that I can. And that is actually they don't use it as much. They're like, it's not working. We can't justify it. Now they try a bunch of different things. They try and adapt to the situation and try different psyop protocols and things like that. But that's what I found is for the for the torture, for the microwave torture, getting defenses, reacting that way, not reacting but acting. We need to stop reacting, right? When they want us to react, because we react to something, then they react to it, then hyper game theory goes along. If you take some of these things they do to you every day and you're like, okay, whatever, let it pass through me, and then get on, and then act to get defenses, act to get the word out about this, act to have good relationships. Like, don't react, act, right? Because if you react, if you're constantly reacting, you're caught up in this hyper game theory. Now, doing normal things in your life and talking to people, that's not reacting. That's that's taking action. Taking action's a better way to say that, I guess. But take action. Don't react, right? Okay, I don't know why I went into that. I just wanted to show you all this, put the articles in the description so y'all can see this. I think this has a lot to do with deep brain stimulation in our targeting. I think there's a lot of other layers of the onion, but a lot of targeted individuals have been saying this for a long time. And what we got to do is we got to find as much evidence as possible, and it's not going to be these subcontractors saying, yeah, we're doing this to people. They're not going to say that, but we can get pretty close. We can look at James G. Adorno saying, oh yeah, all these different types of neuro weapons, all these different types of neurotechnologies that are being used, but he doesn't go into detail on those, right? But then we go, oh, look at this neurotechnology that these scientists have wrote a paper on. You see, so we put those dots together, and from our experiences, and what like Robert Duncan has said, and a lot of things that Brian too says are good. I don't agree with a lot of things he says, but some of the things he says, they're right on the money, So, and then, and Barry Trower, John Hall, Dr. Eric Karlstrom, just people who know a lot about this technology. And there's tons other, but we got to, connect the dots there. So I want to read this again. This technique allowed distant near-infrared light to evoke fast increases in dopamine release. The method was also used successfully to evoke fear memories in the dentate gyrus during fear conditioning. The dentate gyrus is a specific part of the brain, right? So you think they can focus in on a specific part of the brain with a stream of photonic energy light using nanoparticle mediated optogenetics. So if they can focus on the dentate gyrus, they can focus on the hypothalamus. They can focus on areas of the brain that are in control of your hormones and your endocrine system, your adrenaline, things like that. It seems like my attackers have really, because like some of the simpler stuff, like on the surface layers of the onion, some of that stuff I defend really good against. I can really fight it well by ignoring it in a certain type of way. Not ignoring the situation. I'm not saying ignore the situation. Ignore the attacks. And then act. And then take action about those attacks, but don't react directly to the attacks all the time, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you in the cycle, right? We want out of the cycle. We want to get out of the cycle so that we can really work on these problems and really get out of the cycle ourselves, so our brain's not in this cycle, so our nervous system's not in this cycle of fear-based conditioning, right? So abstract. Optogenetics has revolutionized the experimental interrogation of neural circuits and holds promise for the treatment of neurological disorders. It is limited, however, because visible light cannot penetrate deep inside brain tissue. Upconversion nanoparticles to absorb tissue-penetrating near-infrared light and emit wavelength-specific visible light. Here we demonstrate that molecularly tailored UCNPs can serve as optogenetic actuators of transcranial NIR light to stimulate deep brain neurons. Right. So, okay, let me try and say that in English. I'm going to have to read this over and over again. It's a lot of scientific language. Here we demonstrate that molecularly tailored UCNPs can serve as optogenetic actuators, and the UCNPs would be the upconversion nanoparticles. That'd be the like smart dust or nanotechnology or nanoparticulates. Nanoparticulates would be like heavy metals mixed with a type of fungus. I think they use all of those different things. But the thing about the smart dust or nanotechnologies is that they can bypass the blood-brain barrier. Then, see, they wouldn't be able to do that if they don't have that catalyst. They can't do this bidirectional stream of photonic energy. It just doesn't work. Like it stops. It doesn't penetrate the skull. It doesn't penetrate deep enough into the brain. So they have to have those nanoparticulates. I don't know how people are going to believe. All we can do is say it. But in our food supply, in our water, in chemtrails, in tons of places, you are getting smart dust and nanoparticulates, nanotechnologies. You're ingesting them. They're going in the blood-brain barrier. I would say, I live in the United States. Y'all know I live in the United States, but I would say that every citizen of the United States has these nanoparticulates that have passed through the blood-brain barrier. They could all be targeted like this. So hypothesis, I think they've been putting it into our food and our water for a long time, and I think the chemtrails was to make sure they got everybody covered, just in case somebody was drinking a different type of water, or I don't know how they would eat a different kind of food that comes from the ground, or cows or pigs that are raised that are ingesting and breathing in these nanotechnologies, and then we're eating them and getting those nanotechnologies into ourselves. And probably a lot of planned ways to get these nanotechnologies into citizens around the world. I don't know other countries. It seems like it'd be the same deal. It seems like, yeah, it's going to like how America's probably doing it the worst. Like, I'd say that we're the biggest, I don't know, I don't want to say that. A lot of other countries are getting it bad. It just seems like, even in evil, America always leads the way. Wow, that's a horrible thought. That's a horrible thought. Okay, I don't know. I think it's pretty bad in every country, and it's kind of the same way. They're getting these nanotechnologies into everybody. And then you've got, injected implants. They're still doing that. Just because these nanoparticulates, just because the smart dust exists, they're still doing that parallel system of implanting people non-consensually. They're still doing that. They don't just stop one thing. They want redundant systems. They want to implant people non-consensually as a backup or to intensify the targeting, and then they want all the nanoparticulate crap, so that they can definitely target anybody. But they want redundant systems. They want redundant catalysts inside of people's body to make sure they got everybody covered, which is a horrifying thought. Okay, here we demonstrate that molecularly tailored UCNPs can serve as optogenetic actuators of transcranial NIR light to stimulate deep brain neurons. Transcranial NIR UCNP mediated optogenetics evoke dopamine release from genetically tagged neurons in the ventral tegmental area, induce brain oscillations through activation of inhibitory neurons in the medial septa, silence seizure by inhibition of the hippocampus. That's what I didn't mean hypothalamus, I meant hippocampus. I meant hippocampus. I've got to look those up because I get those mixed up. But I think the hippocampus controls your fear, your fight or flight. I'm getting deep brain stimulation on levels where it's like, it's not just my emotions, and it's not anything that I'm reacting to the torture. I'm depressed from the torture, but this is like, something's wrong. Like, something's wrong in my brain and my body, and it's like I can't feel good. And it's not right now. Right now I'm okay. It's just certain periods of time they'll do it for long periods of time, and then it seems like they'll pull off of that. But but you know what I'm saying. So in the medial septum silence, seizure by inhibition of hippocampal excitatory cells. I don't understand any of this, guys. I'm gonna have to reread it and try and triggered memory recall. Silent seizure by inhibition of hippocampal exciter and triggered memory recall. UCNP technology will enable less invasive optical neuronal activity manipulation with the potential for remote therapy. You see what they're saying? Remote therapy. It will enable less invasive optical neuronal activity. It means you don't have to open up the brain, and you can manipulate and mess with structures of the brain, get information from structures of the brain. With that, for us, it's going to be that bidirectional stream of photonic energy that's using those fields of electromagnetic frequency. Just like that MIT article said, functioning MRIs with focused ultrasound, but you've got to have the functioning MRI to target the areas of the brain better. Now, is there something else? Is there something else in the deeper layers of the onion of our attacks? Maybe so. But I think this is going in the right direction. Is it more complicated? Is it like, because electromagnetic frequencies create photons, right? Electromagnetic frequencies create photons, so could be part electromagnetic frequency, part photon, to a bidirectional stream. It could be a mixture of frequencies with those photons, right? But I think that we need to learn about optogenetics, and we need to know about it. And also we need to start trying some light therapies. I think that, mirrors could, I've used a lot of mirrors, and mirrors seem to work very well for not only electromagnetic frequencies, but maybe also this light, maybe also this non-visible light. And it's non-visible light to our eyes, but it doesn't mean that we can't get more proof of this. So, all right, guys, I just wanted to show you all that and kind of go into it. I'm going to put both of the articles in the description. And trust me, I'm not trying to make things more complicated. I know my mom always tells me, keep it simple, stupid. Why does she call me stupid all the time? I'm just joking, but we do need to kind of delve into this because nobody's going to do it for us, And I think a lot of the people who come out, like Robert Duncan and Barry Trower, they'll talk about these things, and Robert Duncan goes into some detail, but there's certain things that he can't say because it would really help us to really solve the problem. It'd really help us to know, like, okay, this is a layer of the onion, this is a layer of the onion, and really fight back, So a lot of those guys, they'd get arrested if they really spoke about, like, details of exactly what this bidirectional stream of energy that's doing deep brain stimulation to us really is comprised of, or it may be different in different protocols, right? It could be different in different protocols. But I think this is really important information, guys, and that's kind of it. That's kind of it for today. It's really early, so I'm gonna go get some electronic cigarettes, and I don't know. I'm gonna figure out something to do. Please check out I haven't got my live stream back on my main channel, so it was supposed to have happened already. I don't know. I'm trying to contact YouTube and find out about it, but I should have it back. I haven't checked today, so maybe if I check today, it's going to be back. But they might have just forgotten about that. But I did do a live stream, I think on Sunday. I think it was Sunday. It may have been Saturday. I think it was Sunday. And the Badger Report came on, and we talked about Julian Assange being deathly ill. Y'all know what I think about that. I mean, I feel like Jarrell sometimes, since I'm wearing the Superman shirt. I feel like Jarrell sometimes because this stuff is really going on. It's widespread. It's not just this specific little group of targeted individuals who are experiencing this torture and this manipulation. These neuroweapons are being used in tons of situations, operationally, experimentally. So Julian Assange, from what he did, it would have been an operational thing where intelligence agencies are using these neuroweapons and stuff, not experimenting and seeing what they could get him to do, but trying to neutralize him, trying to get information from him. It was very operational. my I don't know, my situation and a lot of y'all's has probably become kind of mixed, because at the beginning when I became a targeted individual, and I'm not sure exactly when that was, it was very experimental. It was just, hey, we're going to use this guy to experiment on him. It wasn't really operational. They may have, like, some people in DHS fusion centers may think that it's operational, the gang stalking things they're doing to me, because there could be a lie that I did something wrong or whatever. But it feels like mine was more experimental. But these weapons are also being used in an operational capacity, with the Cuban embassy workers, who some of them were CIA. And that's what either Cuban intelligence or Russian intelligence wanted to know about them. In China, Chinese intelligence wanted to know which ones of them were double agents or whatever. You got that going on all over the globe, operational and experimental, and then other ways that they use these weapons that I'm probably not mentioning right now. It's a huge, wide, so many angles to this topic, right? As long as we go in the right direction, as long as we're trying to protect ourselves, as long as we're being good people and helping people, and not trying to confuse the situation, I think that we're heading on. We're heading on with these rallies, and people, like, there's so many people who are on YouTube who are getting hundreds of thousands of views on videos. They don't talk about their targeting, but they're targeted individuals, and they're talking about subjects around it and stuff. And maybe what I would suggest to them, and I'm not going to pull out any of their names, but I'd suggest, if you get to like 500,000 views or a million views or wherever, like a large amount of views, go ahead and come out and say, hey, I don't know. I won't get into that, because I can see people have their strategies. God's put, you're a unique individual, and God has put you in this situation for a certain reason, to do what's in your heart, to do what you think is going to help you and the people around you. So everybody might have a different strategy. God's speaking to people differently in their hearts. All right, guys, that's it for today. I just wanted to bring across this information. I'm going to definitely put it in the description, and I'll probably be making some more videos soon. I definitely want to do some more interviews. Check out the live stream. I think it was from Sunday, so that'd be, I guess it was the 1st. Is this the 5th? Today is Wednesday. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, maybe the 2nd. I think maybe the 2nd. But it was a good live stream. We hung out and talked about we talked about a lot of stuff, but mainly Julian Assange becoming really ill. It's in my in my Vulcan Wolverine 2 live streams on this channel, on this main channel. Please go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. We want to get this information as up and out as we can. So please give me a subscribe and a thumbs up. And all targeted individuals, if you like their information, remember to give them a like. Remember to subscribe to them and stuff like that. Okay, guys, more to come. More to come. I hope all you guys are staying strong. I know you're staying strong, but I hope you're getting a little peace. It's pretty. I'm gonna try not go into a lot of the details of what I'm going through, to see how my attackers, like, what information they really have, because I think, yeah, the remote neural monitoring is pretty extensive, but I don't know. I get sick of talking about what's happening to me all the time with this. I feel like, I don't know. I'll talk about that later. Those were just kind of, thoughts, things that are on my mind. Yeah, things that are on my mind. But more to come, guys, and we're pushing through. More people are learning about this. If this is if you're just like, well, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say, like, if this is just too confusing for you, people are really smart. Targeted individuals are really smart. I'm going to stop doing that. It's like a couple of targeted individuals that I meet are just like really target, and it's just like they don't make sense, and then I tend to project that onto other targeted individuals. That's a big problem, because there's tons of very intelligent, even-minded targeted individuals that are going through this. But I sometimes put the worst cases, like the cases that it's like they don't really, where it's really bad. And I'm going to stop doing that. I'm just going to put the information out. You guys are really smart out there. And even those people I might be misreading. They might understand more than I think. I definitely don't want to judge any targeted individuals. We've got to, well, I'm going to go in, I'll go into some more of that stuff on later videos, just some thoughts I had. Should have just stopped at the end of the article. That's not too bad, whatever, an hour. I'll keep bringing it down a little bit in time. Sometimes I just, whatever. All right, guys, I love y'all. I hope y'all are, I just hope y'all are doing good. I hope you're finding peace. Pray to God in the name of Jesus Christ to give you a pathway through this, to let you know what you're supposed to be doing in this, to how you can get to some peace and safety. There's a wonderful God that we have, and He's way more powerful than this. And I've seen Him turn the most complicated, nefarious, bad things on their heads and make it for the good of the good people involved in the situation. And I really feel like that in this situation. I'm going to trust in that. My human brain is having a hard time seeing how this can come out good for me and a lot of other targeted individuals, a lot of people in the world suffering. But I'm going to trust God's plan, and just keep doing what He's putting into my heart. So I think I'll do that video on balance next. I've been wanting to do that for a while. Love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.